Good day everyone. Today we're going to focus on the graph, how to draw graph, how to analyze the graph. But first we need to understand the prior knowledge of the graph. If you understand how to draw the Cartesian plane and able to understand all the axes on the Cartesian plane, we have y-axis and x-axis. If you understand this graph, we can continue on with the gradient and the graph analysis. Then on this line you are going to plot all the axis values. On this one you are going to plot all the y values. First we have the equation of straight line graph, which is y equals to mx plus c. On the last section, we already classify how to calculate the x and y intercept, which when we calculate the x intercept, we let y equals to 0. And then on the given equation, we go to substitute our y equals to 0, and then we solve for x. If you calculate the y intercept, we do the opposite of the above. We are going to let x equals to 0, and then on the equation that we are given, we are going to substitute our x into 0, and then we solve for y. But from this equation we already have the y-intercept. It is represented as letter C, and then it is also called constant. This constant is your y-intercept. When you let your graph x equals to y equals to 0, so x equals to 0, then you're going to substitute x by 0, and then when you multiply the m multiplied by 0, you're going to give you 0, which means your y equals to c. Therefore, this concludes that your y-intercept equals to x, letter C, the constant one. But today's lesson, we're going to focus on the gradient, on the letter m, how to determine the gradient. In order to find the gradient, you have to be given a coordinate of 2 points. It's either you have on the graph, let's say this is your graph, x and y, and then you have point here and the point here. Then when you're going to determine your gradient, you're going to find the change between your x and y, the change in x, and the change in y. The change in x and the change in y is going to help us to determine the gradient of the equation, which the formula of the gradient equals to m change in y over change in x. Change in y is the meaning of y2 minus y1. Change in x is x2 minus x1. This is the formula to calculate our gradient. Then if you have point A and point B, let's say you have 2 and 4, and then you say 1 and 1. You are going to take this point. This one, if you let it is your x1, therefore it means it is also your y1. The point B, if this is your x2, which means it is also your y2. And then you take the point as it is, you substitute in the equation, you determine the value of the gradient. That is how you are going to find the value of the gradient. Or there's another formula which is saying m equals to rise over run. This formula of rise over run is going to help us to determine the direction of the graph, whether your gradient is positive or negative, or it is a constant, or it is at an equilibrium. If your graph it is positive gradient, which means your graph is going to look like this. This one is your positive gradient. But your negative gradient, your graph is going to look like this. This one is negative gradient. But if your graph is at equilibrium, when there is no change of x or change of y, your gradient is going to be a straight line. It's like you are traveling at the valley. But when your gradient is positive, it's like you are climbing up the hill. But when your gradient is negative, it's like you are sloping down on the hill. Sure.